Free will at gunpoint. In the Ukrainian territories temporarily occupied by Russia, the Sham referendums were organized by the occupiers in order to try to illegally annex the occupied territories of the Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson and Zaporizhia regions to the Russian Federation. Nonsense, fake and absurd. One can say anything he wants about these actions, because they really are absurd. Because every possible law is broken there. Let's take the laws of the Russia itself, our laws, international ones, just even everyday rules of behavior. Everything is completely violated. Ukrainians themselves say they will never accept and recognize these fake actions by the occupiers.
People are under pressure there. They are at gunpoint. That's why they go and vote.
All these events in the occupied territories are a farce. This was known long before. This happened in Crimea before and later in all the so-called self-named republics.
I was born in Russia, but I am Ukrainian by passport and state of mind. And I want to say that this is really a farce now. Well, how can you take and cut off the territories that have belonged to Ukraine for ages?
The world community also recognizes Putin's referendums as criminal. US President Joe Biden called the Sham voting a fiction and an attempt to annex territories. And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that such an expression of will is nothing more than an escalation of the conflict and a blatant violation of international laws. Due to the decision to hold Sham referendums in the occupied Ukrainian territories, Moscow is losing on its already not numerous partners. Thus, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan stated that they do not recognize the results of illegal voting. Kazakhstan proceeds from the principles of territorial integrity of states, their sovereign equality and peaceful coexistence. Aybex Madiyarov, official representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, in the comment to TASS Russian news agency. The same position was declared by Turkey. We have stated before and continue to state to Russia that we do not recognize the annexation of Crimea. We also do not recognize the results of referendums that take place on the territory of Ukraine. Serbia, which Russia included in the list of friendly countries, said that it could not recognize the results of the Sham referendums because they contradict the norms of international law. On the one hand, our fundamental commitment to the principles and norms of public international law, the UN Charter, and on the other hand, this would be completely contrary to our state and national interests, our policy of maintaining territorial integrity and sovereignty, as well as commitment to the principle of inviolability of borders. Even in Belarus, which has long ago fallen into the influence of the Kremlin, called the Sham referendums illegal. Whether they will recognize them or not is a question for the future, stated the MFA of Belarus. We will look at the situation, we will make a decision based on our national interests, not on the national interests of some other country. The world will no longer be mild to the Kremlin. The reaction to new Sham referendums in Ukraine will be many times tougher than the one that took place in Crimea in 2014. Experts think so. The reaction of the world is completely different than in 2014. It is more determined and active. No one is going to recognize the results of these referendums. In fact, all states, except for some that took such a neutral, balancing position, China, India, all spoke out against referendums, against the annexation of territories, and supported the territorial integrity, sovereignty and independence of Ukraine. The Kremlin decided to hold Sham referendums in order to speed up the course of the so-called military operation and raise the stakes. But what they achieved? The partner states of Ukraine introduced new restrictions against Russia, and those who still maintain diplomatic and economic relations with Moscow start turning away from it. Reported by Pavel Stelmach, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.